Could Alberta really leave Canada? That question is now at the centre of a political storm after the province announced a referendum vote for October 19th on whether to explore a path towards independence. Prime Minister Mark Carney has urged unity. He says his government is working with Alberta on making it better, while Alberta Premier Danielle Smith has insisted she still supports remaining in Canada. The move, though, has angered separatists and rattled business leaders, as analysts warn the vote could deepen uncertainty in Canada's energy heartland. Let's bring in Jamie Smith-Maillet, a France 24 journalist, and focusing on Canada right now, because, Jamie, why has this vote been called? What's behind it?
Indeed, a political storm that you were mentioning that we can see with this question of splitting away or separatism of the province of Alberta in Canada, and perhaps something we've not really heard about much internationally because we hear more often about Quebec rather than Alberta. Alberta, just a bit of background, is often dubbed as the Texas of Canada. It's an oil-rich province to the west of Canada, neighboured by British Columbia and Saskatchewan, and it stretches right up to the Northern Territories, where that question of oil is central to this move of separatism. The province has around 4 million residents, fourth most populous in the country, so being watched very closely on this upcoming referendum question. And this separatist movement has been growing. In fact, there is a petition that showed that there were 300,000 in Alberta who voted in favour of a referendum asking that question whether Alberta is to remain in Canada. And that is what triggered this decision from the Premier announcing that there would be a first level referendum. As you mentioned, they're held in October, with Alberta's voting on this question of remaining or not in Canada overall. In fact, a provincial judge also initially threw out this petition, claiming that Indigenous First Nations people had not been consulted. But Smith, the Premier in Alberta, said that it was not for the courts, it was for Albertans to decide. And quickly, on the question there of why, well, it's a question about the economy. The question of Free Alberta movement, which has been pushing for this, has been saying as well that ultimately it is for Alberta to decide how it owns and uses its own resources. So there's a big drive there behind also a province which is known for being more right-wing and conservative.
Very interesting. It does sound like that Brexit conundrum in terms of being in control of our resources, our borders, all of that. How does this sit nationally, though? Because there's got to be some pushback.
Indeed, it's interesting you mentioned the Brexit conundrum, and The Guardian pointed that out today, actually, that for Danielle Smith here, the Premier, there's actually maybe parallels there or an echo with indeed David Cameron. She herself has said, look, we'll hand out this referendum, perhaps to appease that separatist vote and see how things go, but also saying that I myself would vote against it. I wish to support this idea of unity across the country. So a conundrum there with sort of Brexit echoes potentially, as you mentioned there. At a federal level, this is being watched closely. It is a big challenge for Canada. In fact, the first big challenge in some 30 years. I mentioned Quebec earlier, and that's because Quebec is often mentioned in terms of a separatist movement, which has been in place for a number of years. No more so than perhaps in 1995, when a referendum in Quebec for the independence of the state was nail-bitingly close at 50.98%, saying that they did not want to leave Canada. So a question there that's then threw into question the Clarity Act, meaning that there are much more stringent measures in place today as to whether any province would ask to leave in a separatist movement. That this is much more challenging today for those such as Alberta going forward. So a number of obstacles ahead in this movement. And a final point there, I should say, is that polls have also shown that only about 30% of Albertans at the moment in time support this idea of independence. But that figure has been increasing in recent months. So we'll have to wait until October to find out where things go for now. And will this gamble in some ways of trying to appease the separatist vote work out for Danielle Smith? We'll soon see.
We will. It feels like a referendum to hold a referendum, and that's what we are looking forward to on October 19th. Thank you so much, Jamie Smith-Maillet, for just summing that up. What an interesting set of events there in Canada. And